going to use a PowerPoint to guide me. Is that cool?
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get started just because I know we have a short amount of time and I know everybody's busy. And Mitch, you are amazing. I know you're so slammed. But guys, I want to introduce Mitch face-to-face, Mitch Ribak, one of my favorite agencies out of Florida. He's been in the business a long, long time, doing lots of lead conversion stuff and killing it. So, Mitch, why don't you tell him a brief overview of you, and then this is your show, and we're just going to follow your lead.
Sure, cool. So I was born in 1961. So I'm wicked old. Anyways, now I got into real estate back in 2001. Started September 10th, 2001. Of course, the next day we all stopped working, right? And some of you guys weren't born yet, I know. And then I had sold my first house that week, still either way, and sold 36 homes my first year, 50 my second year, 80 my third year, 80 my fourth year. And then started my team. In the 6 months into the business, I started my internet stuff. And my background before real estate was, hi, Jamie, thanks for coming. But my background before real estate was I was the first online dating service. So I became a private label product for radio industry and became Mr. Internet in the radio industry, which is really fun. So if you're single and you need dating advice, I'm still good at it. My lipstick, sorry. And
are you serious about that? I never knew that.
Yeah, it's the first online dating service. I started in 1995, and then if you ever heard, in fact, I had stations in Austin and Dallas and Houston. So if you ever heard a radio station back in the 90s doing like WZLX Singles or WZLXSingles.com, that was generally me behind the scenes. We had about 6 million people coming a month to the site. It was crazy. And that's how I ended up in Florida. We had it under contract to sell for a stupid amount of money. And I was doing a radio show at Universal Studios called Ask Mitch the Date Doctor. And on 45 radio stations. And which all I did was make fun of single people. It was really fun. And then I called my friend when I had the company under contract to sell. I said, what's the office space like in Cocoa Beach? And she said it was $12 a foot, which when you're from Boston, that's like free, right? So I was 38 years old, single, looking at girls at bikinis for my potential office space. And I was like, I'm in. And unfortunately, 2 months before we closed, the market crashed, and I lost a small amount of $80 million. Not a big deal, but yeah, I lost pretty much everything. That's how I get into real estate, because I didn't know what to do with myself. And I'm like,
wow.
I had to, I knew I was going to do internet, and everybody, when I did it in 2000, I started in January 2002 with the internet stuff. Everybody told me not to do it because it doesn't work. And what I've learned about real estate is whatever anybody tells me not to do, that means that I should do it. So internet, open houses, floor time, all those things are all huge money makers for me and how I became successful. So when I got the internet stuff going, there was no me to ask how to do it because nobody was doing it in January 2002. I was literally the only person online. There was no Google. It was only Yahoo and some other AltaVista and some of these other weird sites. So I just kind of took a step back and being an entrepreneur for 39 years now, but not 39 back then. I just, why do people come to my website? So they only come to my website to look at listings. They don't care about my dog. They don't care about my cat. They don't care that I play guitar or I play baseball, all that other stuff. They just want to look at listings. So I said to myself, firstly, if you're going to come to my site, I'm going to make you register, which back then was unheard of. Nobody would do forced registration. But if I'm going to spend money on marketing, I'm going to capture leads. And then I said, all right, so people are going to come to my site. They're going to look at listings. I'm going to give them more listings than they could ever want. So I immediately started setting people up in listing updates, say searches, which again, nobody did back then. And we killed it. I mean, I just started doing 30, 40, 50 sales a year from the internet right away, pretty much. And that's how I built my team. That's how I built my brokerage. At one point, when we peaked with our lead conversion, that was 2016, 2017. We did 700 transactions that year as a team and 329 from leads. At about almost a 4% conversion rate from raw registration leads. So when I talk about numbers, I always talk about raw registration leads. Zillow leads and those type of leads are a different animal. They're different. It's the same conversion process we're going to talk about today, but it's a different animal. Zillow leads, a few times we've done them, it's about a 15% conversion rate. And when I talk about long-term conversion rates, those are leads we capture this year that close after this year. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint and just to kind of guide me. As you can tell, I'm from Boston and I talk really fast. So I know you guys in Texas have that slow drawl thing. Maybe that's Louisiana. So if I'm going too fast or you have a question, just stop me and then I will answer and address that. Let me go get this set up. Hold a second. Get those in the way. You guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So why do agents fail at this thing? The national average for internet lead conversion is less than 1%. That means it's right around 0.75%. So why is that? It's mainly because agents don't make phone calls. In fact, I have a new book out I just released. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to give it to you right now so you don't have to go and buy it for the dollar that I'm charging. It's a 3-page book. The first page says don't text. The second page says don't email. And the first page says, not as nicely as I'm going to say this, pick up the friggin' phone. And that's the whole book. And it's selling like crazy, which is awesome. I love that. It's selling more than my other books. You got to pick up the phone. Everybody's talking about texting and email is how you succeed. It's not. It's not how you succeed because what happens, and I'll give you numbers, if you text your leads, you're going to get a 35% contact rate. If you call your leads, and that's a max, if you call your leads and just once over every other day when they first come in, you'll get a hold of 65 to 70%. Double. It's a huge difference. And these numbers, I owned an ISA company for 3 years, so I know these numbers like the back of my hand. If it's not Elizabeth, what type of leads do you guys get? Are they registration leads or are they property inquiry leads?
Both. So one thing we're doing right now is the Making It Rain through KV Core.
Okay.
I'm getting everybody set up on the KV Core stuff, but until we do, it's Making It Rain, and so it's however that's being.
Yeah, that's the registration lead.
Yeah.
So registration leads are the least expensive lead to capture, besides Facebook, which I'm not a huge fan of for marketing, for this type of marketing. And again, it's all about picking up the phone. A lot of people think you have to have speed to lead. It's kind of a joke. It's kind of a lie, but that's how people sell services. And so here's the numbers. If you call within 5 minutes, you're going to get a hold of 21%. If you call within 24 hours, you're going to get a hold of 20%. So I don't really care if you don't call in 5 seconds like everybody's telling you got to do. Again, this is a registration. The property inquiry is different. You have to call that quickly. But what you want to make sure is that you call them and have already done certain steps, which we're going to go over in a minute. The other thing that keeps reason why they fail is because nobody's keeping them accountable. So and by the way, that includes yourself. So you need to keep yourself accountable, and Elizabeth, you need to keep your team accountable to be able to actually do this, because what happens if nobody's keeping anybody accountable, nobody does anything. And it's not an insult to anybody, by the way. It's just the reality. I've been teaching this for 15 years, and it's the same thing everywhere I go in every part of the U.S. and Canada. Nobody's making follow-up calls. So once you finally get a hold of somebody, that kind of seems to be the end of it, right? No people have systems in place, and that's kind of the reason why I came up with all this stuff over the years, was to create a better system to help mainly team leaders and brokers, and then in the end, that would be agents become more successful. Okay. All right. So these are stats, and I'm a huge stats guy. I'm a huge numbers guy, and I know my numbers like crazy. So of our sales, so of those 329 sales that we had, 54% of those came in with the same calendar year. So we captured a lead in 2017, and we closed the lead. 54% of those sales, that 329 sales, came from leads that came in that year. However, that means 46% came in from leads that were a year or more older. Last year in 2018, we had 12 sales from 2009 leads.
Oh wow!
Right, crazy. So everybody's leaving so much money on the table, right? And you got any questions on those numbers? But I do this slide here because I want people to understand that you could be doubling your business if you actually called your leads that were a year old. In fact, I always say that leads that are a year or older and that are still active in the system are the best leads you could get. Okay. Part of this is mindset. And so what I teach everybody, it's all about relationship building, right? We all know this business is all about relationships. If you don't build relationships, you don't get sales. Because this, I don't know, how many realtors do you guys have there in Austin?
In our group or just in total?
No, in Austin.
In Austin, about 400. But these people, this is not just
No,
in
no, no.
Austin.
I'm not talking EXP. I'm talking about realtors. How many realtors do you have?
Oh, we have about 13,000.
Okay, cool. So do consumers actually need you?
Yes.
No, they don't need you individually. They don't need you. They need a realtor, but they don't necessarily need you.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah.
So what I want to tell you right now, the reason why I believe we're really successful is because I worked really hard on changing mindsets when I brought on agents. So most agents sit there and say, because most leads don't buy for anywhere between 6 months or more. So when someone comes in, most agents will say, great, well, I'm going to set you up a search. If you see anything you like, let me know. That's the last call they make. I teach my customers, now you have a 6-month opportunity to create a great relationship. So if you look at this, and so if you call someone today, you get a lead today, and they're not buying for 6 months, and you never call them again, if someone says, another realtor 5 months down the road when they launch register on somebody else's site, and someone says, are you working with a realtor? They're going to say, oh yeah, I'm working with Mitch. No, even though they're getting listings from me, they're not working with me. But if I called them back on a regular basis over that 6 months and learned about their family and their lifestyle, and their mother's having surgery, and I called to make sure she's okay, things like that. When you built that relationship, now if somebody asks that question, they're going to say, yeah, I'm working with this guy, Mitch. So that makes sense. It's so important to understand the mindset of this. And it's probably the easiest thing for you guys to fix, and yet the least fixed one. Right? Everybody in our business, unfortunately, wants what's happening today. And a lead system is about creating a business. I'm going to give you another example of that. I've been selling 2001. I stopped selling full-time in 2005 personally. I still always sold 20 to 30 homes a year. This past year, I've sold 38, I think. And I don't sell houses. And what I mean by that, I have literally since 2005 not once asked anybody for business. I've not once done any lead generation. I've not done an open house. I've not done anything. But I did such a great job building those relationships that first 4 years in the business. That has paid me over $100,000 a year now since then, working probably about 150 hours a year. I work very, very little in real estate, but still sell a ton of homes because I built great relationships. This is the same way. People become very loyal to if they like you, but if you don't build a relationship, if you think just sending them listing updates is going to solidify a sale, I guarantee you they're getting listings from 5 or 6 other people. So whoever builds that relationship wins. All right, so this is the step-by-step process. And it's really simple. By the way, the whole process is not rocket science. I used to be amazed at how many people would pay me, $1,000 to $2,000 an hour to have a conversation. I had to figure out how to make that last a couple months when I could do it in an hour. So when a lead comes in, and Elizabeth, part of this is for you to understand the process too on the team leader side. Lead should be assigned immediately, and an autoresponder about the next step immediately. And that means an autoresponder saying, thanks for registering our site. We'll be in touch within the next 24 hours. You'll be getting a list of properties shortly. Please open it and we'll chat about them when I call. Something to that degree. And again, we try to make the first call within 5 to 10 minutes, but it's not mandatory. What is mandatory is you set up your saved search immediately. I say 30 minutes or less. I think 5 minutes or less is even better. This is the most important part of what you do is set them up in a saved search. Everybody knows what that is, right? Just shake your head if you do, okay? Everybody, I like when everybody shakes their head. That's how I do sales. You want this now, right? Yes. Buy this house? Yes. And buy this house? Not? No. So the save search is really, really important. And I might talk about this in a minute, but I'm going to put it on now because I want you to understand how important the save search is, but not just that you do one, but how you do it, because it's really, really, really vital. And the reason why we do this, by the way, we know we're only going to get a hold of 21% on the first email, right? The first phone call. So if I'm only going to get a hold of 21%, and I'm not calling them for another 48 hours, I want to make sure they've gotten something from me with listings, because remember, all they care about is listings. But your search is vital, and here's the reason why it's vital. If you do a search and you do a very finite search, so they're buying in 6 months, and you do a search that's just their details. So it's a $350,000 house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 3-car garage, and that's what you do. It's going to give you a couple of matches, right? Not a lot of matches. Our goal when we set up our first search, especially if they're not buying in 6 months, and by the way, this is different if they're buying in 60 or 90 days. This is someone that's buying a little more long-term, which is 90% of the leads, is we want to do a search that has at least 35 plus matches. So if I get to extend the price range to 300 to 400, or even 275 to 4.25, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to explain to them the reason why we're doing this is I want you to understand the real estate market before you buy. The real reason why I'm doing that is because I want them to get listings from me 2, 3, 4 times a week. Because that means I'm in front of them more. If I'm in front of them more, they're more inclined to use me versus the guy that did a very tight search and is only seeing it once every couple of weeks. Make sense? Very, very important. So if you're setting up searches, which you need to be, and I'll give you an example. You know, I get in trouble for saying this sometimes, but I love this line. I have a guy that I've been helping. He has 10,000 leads in his database, and he didn't set up a saved search for any of them. So figure he probably paid at least $10 a lead for those leads, right? He would have been better off buying a multiple kilos of cocaine and had more fun because, not that I do cocaine, but my point is he just wasted his money. You don't want to waste your money when you're doing this. It's very expensive to do lead generation. And Elizabeth knows that if she's doing lead generation for you guys. If you're not converting, you're just throwing money away and you might as well just throw it away. Any questions on that part? We good?
What happens when one of the things that happens is that we don't get phone numbers or we don't get the accurate information, so we only have like an email.
Not a problem.
Same thing. Just set up a search and go with the information you have.
Yes. So 2 things. We're going to talk about 2 different things on this page here. One we just talked about, which was the broad search, and I don't ever remember it on my slides, so that's why sometimes I talk about things that are on other slides. The number one thing, reason why you're doing it right away is a lot of people say, well, I wanted to wait till I talk to them because they didn't want to set up the search. You can always change the search, but if you don't set up a search, nothing's going to them, right? And remember, you're only getting a hold of 21% the first time. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell you and guarantee you that majority of you guys, if you're calling at all on the first call, you're calling once. You're not calling that 4 times. Mm-hmm. Make sure they're set up to get listings daily. I know a lot of people set them up for weekly, and that's a problem, especially if you're in a hot market. Like if you set ours up weekly here in Brevard County, Florida, and something comes out that they missed because you didn't send it to them, you've lost them as a customer, right? And then the other thing is if they don't give you enough information, and going back to what you said, Elizabeth, and they don't give you a phone number, you want to use a default search. So every area, so in Austin, you have different areas where you capture leads from. They're looking in different sections, I'm assuming, right? So each section that you have there usually has different price ranges. So the search that you want to use is based on the average price range of that area. For instance, in Cocoa Beach, I know that an average single family is going to be between $250,000 and $500,000. So I'm going to set up every search. If they don't give me any information, or they do like a $0 to $1 billion in a search, I'm going to set them up for that $250,000 to $500,000. Now, it's not always right, but going back based on the averages, I'll be close enough to make the searches relevant versus doing 0 to $1 billion. Okay, that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And guys, if you all have questions that come up, jump in as well. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah, this is the most important thing. Just going back to your question, Elizabeth, on emails and phone numbers. 25% of our sales come from leads with no phone numbers.
25%.
Yep. So that means, based on our numbers, that 1% of our leads total that we have sales from have no phone numbers. So if you did this right, you'd still hit the national average or better than the national average on lead conversion. Okay.
Cool.
And the other thing is we can talk about that later, Elizabeth, you and I, is on your lead capture form, how it's set up and if that's hindering you from getting more phone numbers.
Okay.
And also on that, Elizabeth, and I'll gladly send this if you send me an email, remind me because I will forget because I got a meeting right after this, I could send you my drip campaigns. So I have drip campaigns for every type of scenario you have a lead. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay, I'll send you a note.
Okay, so after your contact, it's really important you place your leads into proper groupings. Assign a drip campaign. And after you make the phone call, adjust the search based on the phone call, right? After the fourth time, by the way, we're going to get a hold of, like I said, 65, 70%. We don't chase them after that. We might put them in a once a month call, but I don't really care about the people I don't get. I care about the people I get, right? It's like a funnel. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. These are the groups that I use, and I don't use KV Core. Using KV Core, right?
Yeah, maybe you ran it.
Yeah.
Jeff
So,
working on it.
okay, so I don't use KV Core. So I don't know how it's set up in the back. I have a real estate webmaster site, but if you can
Okay,
you set up?
That's who I'm about to talk to, Mitch. So are you doing SEO with REW?
I do not. I do not do SEO. I do pay per click.
Okay.
And honestly, I have 36,000 leads in my database. I stopped generating new leads. I've got of that almost 7,000 are open the emails the last 30 days. 3,800 of those have phone numbers. So I'm in a different stage than you. I'm trying to teach my team to do their own stuff.
Yeah.
And pull back. You're like 100 years younger than me. I'm trying to spend more time with my granddaughter and grandson and try to get out of the business. So I got rid of my ISA department. I got rid of generating new leads. So SEO is great, but SEO, keep in mind, takes time.
Okay, so when we're at EXPCon, REW is somebody I'm meeting with as well. So
yeah, Morgan. You're meeting with Morgan?
Yeah, Morgan and yeah.
Yeah, Morgan. Yeah, I know Morgan really, really well.
I'll pick your brain on that in a little bit. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So when you're doing this, you want to set up different groups within your website. So bad phone number group, no contact, good phone number, no contact, active high-end leads because you don't want to lose any high-end people, right? Active lead, which is a regular active person. Calendar lead, what that means to us is they're buying with any type of time frame. So if they told me they're buying in the fall, they told me they're buying in January, whatever they gave me, that's a calendar lead. It's a better lead, right? They gave me a time frame. And then a hot lead for us is buying within 30 days. Very important also that you have a shown property group. This is key. In our site, when we started really beat the crap out of our database several years ago, we had 6,000 leads in our shown property group that agents never called again. So they showed property to them. They built that trust to get them in the car, and then they never followed up with them after they showed property to them. 6,000 leads. That's crazy. So these are the groups we got. And Elizabeth, I'll send you the drip campaigns, and I'll send you this whole presentation, okay? So you have all this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so these are really small because I try to fit a lot on one page. But we want to talk about the phone call. First of all, if you're not in the mood to make a phone call, like you're in a pissy mood for some reason, you got in a fight with your spouse, probably not a good idea to pick up the phone, right? You go, yeah, you're on my site. What the hell do you want? Don't do that. So really, it's like when that whole smile while you dial, like luckily for me, I'm always like this. I'm always happy, smiling, and I don't ever have bad days. I have a bad minute once in a while, and I forget about them because I'm old and I forget stuff. But always be in a good mood, always be happy. Now, I don't want to use that as an excuse never to make a phone call, because if you're always unhappy, you probably should find another living. Real estate's probably the wrong business. So I also never leave a message until after my fourth attempt, because if you leave a message, and I don't text at all, if you leave after the fourth attempt, I don't care what you do, but after the fourth, before that, if you leave a message, the conversion rate goes down dramatically, the capture rate rather. Because the contact rate, sorry. After that, on the fourth attempt, I'm going to leave a message, and it's a 10-second message. Hey, this is Mitch with EXP. I've been trying to get a hold of you to go over the listings I've been sending you. Please give me a call back when you get a chance. 555-555-555. 10 seconds. You have 10 seconds. Think about yourself when you get a voicemail from somebody you don't know. If it's more than 10 seconds, do you listen to it? Generally not. I don't. You actually, with me, you have about 2 seconds. If I don't like the first 2 seconds of your voice, I hang up. The whole idea of the first phone call is to build rapport. It's about starting a relationship. I talk about real estate a little bit, but I really talk about lifestyle more than real estate. Where do you want your family to be? Do you have kids? How old are your kids? So do you need to be near schools? I want to get to know them as a person, and I'm going to have a conversation about them as a person, not as a number, not as a lead. And by the way, don't ever say, yeah, you were one of my leads, and I want, don't ever say you're one of my leads. I have agents that have said that. I've been listening to their phone calls. I'm like, yeah, so you're one of my leads that have been in my database for a long time. I'm like, really? You called your potential customer a lead? Yeah, that's just common sense, right? Um, again, lifestyle, talk about the search. Most important things are what's their buying time frame. So it's really important to know their buying time frame because our callback schedule is going to be based on their buying time frame. Someone buying in 2 years is going to be a lot different than someone that's buying in 2 months. By the way, just totally popped into my brain. But do you guys deal with people moving from out of the area?
All the time.
All right. Have you used the world for that yet?
To meet them in
This is
the world campus. I
yeah.
have.
You do that?
I
Yeah.
have.
So for your agents that are on there, when you're dealing with someone out of area, this is great. My San Diego agents taught me this. They're all younger than me. Um, they they reserve a meeting room. They go in there and they'll put the MLS up on the screen and invite their customer in as a guest and go over the listings on the screen inside the world. I thought it was brilliant because it just sets you apart from everybody else, makes you better, makes you different. Right? Anyways, you got to figure out why they're moving. So all these things you got to do in conversation. You can't sit there and go, okay, so what's your criteria? What do you like to do? When do you buy? You can't be a robot. You got to talk to people like you're talking to like a person. Okay. If they're not buying in 30 days or 60 days, I don't push financing too much because people, they don't know you. They don't want to talk about money yet. So we don't push financing too much with the exception of one type of person, a first-time home buyer. First-time home buyer, I want to educate them on the process and how important it is to talk to a lender. Now, if they're not buying for 6 months or more, you don't have to have that conversation yet. That could be a subsequent conversation. And then finally, the last bit of the call is setting the action plan, which is I'm going to give you a call back in 2 weeks. I'm going to give you a call back in a week. On my first phone call, we always call back a week later. And by the way, when I say call back, that doesn't mean call. That means get a hold of them. Right? I want you to call, leave a message, and be done. A lot of my agents over the years have said, well, they never called me back. Remember, there's 13,000 of you there. They don't need to call you back. There's plenty of realtors for them to use. So always set them up. So on the first one's great. I'm going to call you next week to make sure you're getting the right listings I'm sending you. I'll give you a call then. Have a great day. Bye. Very simple. All right, drip campaigns. And Elizabeth, we'll spend a little more time on this together.
That'd be awesome.
But you don't use drip campaigns that are, and I've seen these. I have people that sent me all the time when I was doing my consulting and coaching. There'll be a book, there'll be gardening tips, crap like that. You got to send stuff that's relative. If it's not relative to buying a house, they don't want to see it, right? They have to be really, really short. And if you want more, put a link in there. Again, if you send me an email that has more than a paragraph or two, I delete it. I don't care what it is. I don't read them. And I have agents that, yeah, I don't read them. And I'm the average person, except I'm probably a little more ADD. I don't read emails that are long. I don't have patience for it. And if you don't break up, like I can only read, I have a reading disability, which is why I flunked out of college. If you send me an email, it's true, I got kicked out the first year, bastards. I ruined all my picking my girl things, and I had to play in a rock band instead. So if you send me something that's not broken down in simple paragraphs, I can't read it. The words all jumble together. So you have to assume that I'm the worst case scenario. You have to assume the worst case scenario that they're not going to read a lot of what you send, and that's why the 10-second voicemails. Okay. You don't need a ton of drip campaigns. I'll tell you the one drip campaign that has been amazing for me over the years. I came with this it was my first drip campaign. It was one campaign that said, hi, Bill. Just checking in, making sure you're getting my listing updates. If you have any questions, let me know. I can show you any homes in Brevard County. That still to this day generates more business for me than anything else I do, except for listing updates. Very simple. Just checking in, making sure you get my updates. Let me know if I can help. I can show you any home. Really, really simple, easy to read. When I first started, I used AOL AOL address book. That's how tech savvy I am for the Mr. Internet guy, right? And I would start at the beginning. Hi, Ann. Say that. Hi, Bill. Hi, Bob. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Dave. And I would never get past the letter I before I was slam busy again. And of course, now we have sophisticated systems. Back then, we didn't have that. make sure every lead that you get goes into one of those groups we talked about, because those groups will have different drip email campaigns assigned to them. Okay. Phone call schedule, because the magic's the follow-up, right? And I always say, if you don't make the phone calls, somebody's going to. And that the internet space is way more competitive now than it was 18 years ago when I started. Even the past 2 years, it's changed. People are hiring ISA companies. People are, it's just a lot more competitive. Agents are actually paying for more stuff on their own and doing that. So you have to follow up, and you have to follow up with a schedule based on their buying time frame. So this is the buying time frame in our follow-up schedule. This alters every time you call, because when you talk to somebody who says they're not buying for a year, and when you talk to them in 2 months, their whole time frames could have changed. A lot of times, the reason why we call a week after we've made our initial contact is I've had people, because we're a destination place here in Florida, right? I've had people who said they're not buying for a year, and all of a sudden they say, you know what? We didn't realize the property was so inexpensive. We're buying now. I've had that happen tons of times. So that's why that call the first week is very important. If they're not buying for a year or more, we call every 2 months. Once it gets to 6 months, we get down to every 6 weeks. Once we get to 3 months, it's once a month. Until we get to a month, then it's once a week or as needed. And everything depends on the conversations that you have with them. And by the way, it's really important that on every single one of these leads that you really update your notes as detailed as you can be, because there's nothing worse than going to a lead. There's nothing worse than Bob calling, right? And I've got this, hey, Mitch, this is Bob. Hey, Bob, how you doing, buddy? Great, you've been sending me listings. I opened up my database. I got 612 Bobs in my database. And Bob, what's your email address so I can find your account? Right? And then if I go in there, there's nothing in there for notes. I have no idea what our conversation is. But when I go in there and see he's got 2 kids, hey, great, how are the kids? I know that there's been 6 months. They must be getting bigger, right? Whatever it is, that I could turn this into a conversation that's personal. If you don't keep really good notes, and I'm talking really good notes, again, you're missing the boat. So everybody get this? Again, you'll have these slides, so you'll learn this, but this is it.
When you're calling, you're not leaving messages, correct? You're just calling until you get them?
After I've made the initial contact, you can leave messages and you can text.
Okay.
Some people prefer to text, right? But the first time, the personal conversation is more. And again, after four tries, I don't care if you leave messages, text. I don't care if you show up at their doorstep. It doesn't matter. But I don't care about that 30% that I don't get. 30 to 40% I don't get. I care about the 60% I talk to, right?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
Why do you think the conversion rate goes down so quickly if you leave a message within those first 4 calls?
I say that one more time.
Why do you think your conversion goes down so quickly if you leave a message within the first 4 calls?
Oh, okay, great. I know exactly why, actually. Because what happens is they see your phone number, now they know it's you, and they're not really they just don't like talking to you at that moment. But if you call, so what we did with the ISA company, we had the company for 3 years. ISA is inside sales agents, if you don't know that. And so we did lead conversion for about 150 brokerages and teams. And I study stats. So what we learned is what it took to get the highest contact rate. So we originally did every day. We usually did twice a day, and that contact rate was really low. Then we did texting. That's how we don't know texting doesn't work well. Then we did calling once a day for 5 days. Then we learned that 5th call, the contact rate was like 2%. So that was a lot of time and effort to get a contact rate. And we just kept playing with the numbers. And we tried calling every other day for over 8 days, and that got us to that contact rate. We left messages. We found that the contact rate went up about 15 or 20%, like from 50 to 60 or 70, if we didn't leave a message. And I believe that's because they saw our phone number, but they didn't know who we were, so they picked it up, right? That's I didn't ask them why they didn't do that. So that was my deduction of analyzing numbers, is that we had our best contacts rate 65 to 70% when we did that. And I really believe it's because they go, who's this person calling me, right? That's what I believe. That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. All right, so I want to understand leads, and this is really important that you understand this. So I always looked at leads as a funnel before they used the word funnel marketing, which is a little different than what I'm talking about, but it's the same idea. So say you get 100 leads. I know that if you call those people 4 times over 8 days, you're going to get a hold of 65 of them. Now, by the way, that some places it's 62, some places it's 71, 65 to 70 is the average. Actually, the average is actually 68, if you want to be exact. You're going to reach 65 of those leads. Of those 65 leads that you get a hold of, 30 of them are going to continue to use your site. Now, again, I can't chase every lead every day for the rest of my life, or that's all I'll be doing. And out of those 30, I know that 10 are going to buy a home within 90 days. These are all based on my numbers, by the way. And I know that 3 to 5 of them are going to buy a home from you, right? So you only chase the ones that are worth chasing. Don't worry about the ones you can't get. Like if someone's not responding, don't worry about it, right? I mean, you're going to try and make your best effort, but once and this all depends on how many leads you have in your database too. If you have a small amount of leads in your database, then you could try a little harder. For me, again, with 36,000 leads in my database, we're not going to sit there and chase after everyone leads. We're looking at those leads that opened their emails the last 30 days, that registered in the site the last 30 days, right? Make sense? So that's, I think that's it. Yeah. So that's really it. This is not rocket science by any means. This is really just following a system. And I don't care if you're doing open houses, there's a system. I don't care what you're doing. There's a system for everything. This system has been adopted by every person in the world that's actually doing lead conversion. In fact, Elizabeth Morgan said to me once when we first started talking, he says, you should be like a multi-billionaire because every system out there right now is based on what you started 18 years ago. And it is. Every lead conversion system out there is based on what I just taught you guys. The difference is implementation and accountability. The reality is majority of agents won't block the time on a daily basis, which you have to do, to make phone calls and get a hold of people. If you do that, I always tell my agents, if you talk to five realtors, I think I'm recruiting right now. If you talk to 5 consumers a day, you will kill this business. If you talk to 5 people in your database a day, and for most of us, that's going to take you about 2 hours, right?
So let me ask you a question on that.
Okay.
So building relationship, I totally get that. With the leads, are there, and I hate the word scripts, but in this sense, are there scripts or things that you have said that tend to get people to respond better than other things, or is it just?
I don't use scripts per se, because I used to open telemarketing centers as one of my companies for companies. And the first thing I would do is go in there and rip up the scripts, and I just use bullet points. Okay. Because what happens is, and I don't mean to insult people when I say this, but I've just been doing this for so long, and I'm pretty straightforward, as Elizabeth will tell you, is if I give you a script, you're going to go off of it anyways. You're not going to follow it most likely. And if you follow it, you're going to end up sounding like a robot. I'm generalizing, of course. Some of you guys might be awesome at scripts, internalizing them. I'd rather give you a bullet point. So the bullet point is, what do I talk? Hi, this is Mitch with EXP Realty. You're registered on the website name. That's the only script that I use right there, right? Because they didn't register with EXP. They registered whatever your website name is, right? And that might be your group, or it might be the website URL. That's up to you guys. And then from there, I give So first thing I want to talk about is lifestyle. So tell me a little bit about your lifestyle. What do you guys like to do for fun? And then I'll go into, that's great because I like to know your lifestyle because that helps me figure out what's the best area for you guys to live in. Great. Then we're going to go into search criteria. Great. So now that I know what you're looking for and I know where you need to be, tell me a little more about the house you want to buy. You follow me? And that's so I'm a bullet point guy. Even when I speak, I mean, I don't even like doing PowerPoint presentations, but it keeps me on track with bullet points. That's why I do them. And I'm ADD with a few strokes involved there too. So for me, to be able to stay on track, it's important to me. But even when I do things, like if I go out and speak to a bunch of people about something, I'm going to have four bullet points and talk about it in my own words. So Gina's going to talk about it different than Preston's going to talk about it different than Vanessa's going to talk about it. You're all going to have different words that fit you best. And so for me to give you a generic script, I don't believe in that. I'd rather have you use your own words. And by the way, there's lots of people that disagree with me on that. I just been
I
doing this a
agree
long
with you
time,
on
and
that. I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
create my own, whatever I'm going to say, but I like hearing you say that. Now, what about objections? I think when you're working with leads, what are some of the most common objections you're hearing when you're calling these people, and you actually reach them on the phone, and how are you overcoming those?
Okay, great. I love that question. I really should have a page on that. Don't know why I don't actually, but there's only one real objection, right? It's the same when you get in an open house. Well, I'm just looking, right? Everybody says, I'm just looking. I understand that completely. Everybody's just looking. So tell me a little more about what you guys are looking for. That's it. So unfortunately, what most agents will say when they say that, well, that's great. That's great. I'll send you some listings. If there's anything you like, let me know. You got to get past that by saying, great, everybody's just looking. So what are you looking for? And so with doing ISA, but we had an ISA department for 12 years of my brokerage, and again 3 years with an ISA company. So we learned how to overcome that, because we would have lost most of our sales if we did that. All right, so that's the number one objection you're gonna get. Other ones you'll get are, I'm trying to clean some stuff up so I can get financed. So have you talked to a lender yet? A lot of times people think their credit is worse than it is. And let's face it, you can buy a house with, I think, a 580 credit score, right? So a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people looking at another one I get is, well, we're leasing, we still have 4 months left on our lease. Well, great. You understand that we can start looking at houses now, because I can actually show you how it's better to buy now over the next couple of months than it is to wait till you're in a hurry to get out with your lease. Just those type of things. Make sense? So a lot of it is just, and I'm glad if you guys are getting specific objections, email them to me, and I'll give you the answer to them. The only thing God blessed me with, because it wasn't looks, was was the ability to be quick on my feet and answer objections. It's it's a natural born salesperson. I've been able to build rapport, build conversations without scripting and without just with being me. And I handle objections the exact same way. There's an answer to every objection. If you guys give me objections, if you send me 10 objections, I'll send you back 10 answers.
Love that.
Okay.
What other questions do you guys have? Because Mitch is like a genius with this kind of stuff. So, yeah, what questions do you guys have? I have a lot, but I don't want to control the conversation either.
Well, if they're not asking, go ahead and ask away.
Well, I don't know. Everybody else might be really good, but my background is just the way I approach my business is very different. And this is something I've never really embraced because of fear. I don't like I don't like rejection. I don't like being told no. I don't like to call and be like, okay, hi, it's Elizabeth. Thank you so much for registering on Lex Property Group, page. I'd love to help you. And then, no, we're not interested. Like, I don't know how to pass that kind of stuff. And
Right.
So
first of all, let me ask you a quick question. And you guys, I don't know how many are on this call, but I want, actually, let me get rid of the share thing here. We're done doing that. Okay. That way I can see all you guys. So I want everybody to raise their hand when I ask you this question. How many of you are registered on a website? Right? Everybody, right? How many of you have given a good phone number if you don't want them to call you?
I give them a good phone number, but I just ignore them.
All right. So that's actually, there's always somebody, I think it'd be you. There's always somebody in a group that gives a good phone number. 99.9999%. Actually, I'll give you the real number. 93% of the people that give you a phone number expect a phone call. 6% could kill us. That's, again, the stats, right? We 6% of the people that we talk to with the ISA coming in. By the way, we're calling 10,000 leads per month for 3 years. So we have a really good idea of our numbers. 6% of the leads do not want to talk to you. So 93, 94%, I added wrong. 94% expect the phone calls. Think about yourself. So if I go on a website, I give them a good phone number, right? And they don't call me. What do I think then? I want them to call me, and they didn't call me. Will I ever do business with that group? Never again, right? So when you're getting call reluctance, and by the way, everybody has call reluctance. I get that. They gave you a good phone number. So Elizabeth, really the number of people that will say that out of 100 is about 6 or 7, right? It's about 6. So don't worry about those 6. Everybody gets hung up on that one person that got yelled at you or something like that. First of all, just give them the finger through the phone and walk away. It doesn't matter, right? Who cares? Do you know the person? No. Right? Are they gonna yell at you? Most people don't yell. They just say, I'm not interested. Okay, great. So you're not looking for a house? That's what I would say. Because you did register on our site. And then I swear at them and call them a few names and then I hang up. So I don't really do that. But my point is don't get disturbed by one. Think about this. If you expect, right? I'm an expectations guy. I teach expectations in one of my classes, right? We can do that someday. You guys will love that class. It's fun. If you expect that 95% of the people are not going to buy a house out of 100, right? You are one of the best in the business at doing this. Do you get that? 5%. If you do 5% conversion, you rocking this. I'm going to tell you, these are the really, really numbers. 52% of all your leads are going to buy a house. Real numbers, 52%. And again, we converted long-term leads at 6%. We're like the rock stars of lead conversion, right? I still think we suck. I think that a 6% conversion rate is ridiculously bad when I know 52% are buying a house. So in your brain, right, we're in sales. Everybody knows that, right? Does everybody know that? Because some realtors don't think they're in sales. We're in sales. And sales is a numbers game. I'm going to talk to X amount of people to get X amount of people that are interested to get X amount of sales, right? That's sales. So 95% of those leads that you talk to are going to tell you they're not going to buy a house. It's not the right number, but that's what you're going to take in your brain. If you keep in your brain that I only got to get 5 out of these 100 people to buy a house, you are a rock star. Very simple, right? But what happens is, like Elizabeth said, you get that one person, I'm not interested. And it ruins your whole calling mood and all that stuff. What you need to say to yourself, and you've probably heard this before, now you're one more closer to getting to the person that wants to talk to you about real estate. Most people want to talk about it. It really depends on your attitude when you call. Again, I always call with happiness and positivity and just who I am as a person. And that I honestly, I've never had anybody tell me that ever. And I've made thousands and thousands of phone calls over the years. I never had one person, not one, tell me that they weren't interested. Because I think a part of it is they registered at my website. They gave me a good phone number. Now, I know as a company, we had 6% that didn't want to talk to us. And several of them were, by the way, they were looking for their brother. They were looking for their friend. Their friend sent them a link to the website. That's what a lot of those were. That they registered so they could see their friend's house or something like that. Right? And I know I sound like I'm lecturing you guys here, huh? So what other questions? You got to undo your microphone.
Questions.
Okay, so one of the things for that, Elizabeth, that I talked to Lexi Sanchez about, she was always like, hey, I see you're on our website and I just wanted to let you know there's actually a real person behind this, and I just wanted to call and introduce myself to put a face or, a name and a voice to what you're looking for and what you're typing in and working with, just to kind of break the ice, which I always liked. I thought that was cool because it makes it very unbusinesslike, more personal.
Yep. I love that too. I know several people that do that actually, and I love that approach too. I mean, ideally it's going to be, so I've been self-employed since I was 19, 39 years, which is ridiculous that I've been that old. And the one thing I've learned, and I've been in 22 different industries. 22, I've been 18 different industries. And what I've learned over those years is I'm going to come up with a line that fits me. So in Lexi's case, that's her line, right? And that might work for all you guys. But ultimately, when I'm out selling whatever product I've been selling over the last 39 years, it was and it took me time. Like, it took me time to learn real estate. Even though I sold 36 homes my first year, I still had to figure it out. I didn't have my line. Now I have my lines. I know exactly what I need to do when I'm selling a house. I know how to, again, I could teach you guys all day that stuff. But the reality is, I want you to script this and write this the way it feels comfortable to you. For Victoria, if that works, awesome. That's great. And just remember, some people are going to say, I'm not interested. Who cares? Some people might even hang up on you. Ooh, that hurt. Don't do that.
I would hide for a week if somebody hung up on me. Just telling you.
It doesn't matter. Have any of you guys ever done cold calling? Like FSBOs and expireds? Well, if you could do that, you could pretty much conquer the world. 'Cause that sucks. I've never done it personally. I do FISBOs. I walk up the door and knock on the door. I love that. That's fun. But I did cold calling for years. I opened telemarketing centers, so I had to show them how to make calls. So I'd sit there and make a dozen calls for people, and I just found even cold calling was kind of fun because I would just like give them the finger and swear at them when they hung up on me and stuff. It's fun. So you just got to figure out what works for you guys, and everybody's different.
So on the emails, if
Yep.
you say you don't have an email, I mean, say you don't have a phone number, but you have an email. So you set them up on the search criteria. Would you also add them to your database, like for your newsletter and all that kind of stuff, your other touch?
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
my gut's yes, but it's like,
Yep,
just
absolutely. No,
click on
it's
them and
just
put it on sale, right?
yeah, they get set up in our system. So if somebody registers on my site, I'm going to do the worst case scenario is they unsubscribe. Bye.
No harm, no foul if I do. Yeah.
Remember, I only care about the 5 out of 100, right? So if I know 5 out of 100 are going to buy a house, and again, that number is really 52, but let's keep it simple. If 5 out of 100 are going to buy a house, I'm going to lose people. I'm going to have people hang up on me. I'm going to have people not respond to my emails, people not respond to my texts. Don't care. I know, and I'm guaranteeing you this, that you'll have a minimum of 5% conversion if you do what I'm teaching you, and don't worry about the other 95. Don't get upset when they hang up with you, don't respond to you, because you only need 5. Again, if you do 5, you're a rock star. I don't know anybody doing better than 5% conversion anywhere in the country or Canada.
That's good to know. Those
Yeah.
numbers are pretty interesting.
Yep.
Because I was thinking the numbers were much higher than that. I had no idea the conversion, which makes sense for all of us that are getting the Make It Rain leads
Yep.
right now. So that kind of can give us a different mindset. And if we can, thank you for offering to share the drip campaigns, because obviously what you're doing is being effective.
Yep.
And so if we can implement that into what we're doing, it'll make us all be more successful.
Yep. That's the goal, right? Yeah. And so if I feel like I'm scolding you guys, it's not, I'm just trying to help. I'm used to talking to my 10-year-old and 30-year-old grandkids. So I'm always yelling at them because that's what I do now is yell at people because you can tell this is a pretty mean grandfather, right? Pops. My name's Pops.
You're a sucker. You're a teddy bear. You're one of my
teddy bear.
people, and I'm not just saying that. So,
Yeah.
Okay, this was huge.
Cool.
For me. I hope everybody, I mean, we have a bunch of different people for different parts of their business on this call, which is amazing. We've got some brand spanking new agents, and we've got some that are trying to grow and build, and then we've got icons. And so I know for me, this is huge because I never knew or understood how to approach this effectively.
Right. So the other thing, Elizabeth, if you go onto my YouTube page, just Mitch Ribak, right? I have for you, Mitch Ribak, just
Oh, it's just your name?
Just my name.
Okay.
If you go in there, I have for your newer agents, I have an open house webinar, which is really awesome. You can share that with them. Because I'm a huge, my first year with the 36 sales, 28 were from open houses. So I created a system to successfully do open houses and win it. Never had less than 24 sales from open houses in a year. And I have another one in there. I have a book called So You Have Your Real Estate License Now What? It's my last book before my 3-page book. That one I did a webinar called Kick It Up a Notch, which is really geared for people that are either not doing the business they want to do or brand new agents, either one.
Okay, cool. I'm making notes, and I'm gonna put this in our. I'll put this in our workplace group, guys, so we can refer to it.
Yes. So, yeah, anything I can do to help you guys, you let me know. It's what I do now. I just sit here and help. Elizabeth, this was for almost an hour because we got on early, so there'll be a $7,500 bill coming to your office. Sorry. I'm discounting it for you.
I'll just buy you a drink at EXPCon. How about that?
That works.
That's awesome. No,
cool.
you are amazing. Was this helpful, guys? Nod. Yeah.
Super helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And you know what? Thank you for being an example of just the collaboration. Again, I plug into this company. I know some of us do, but not everybody's had that opportunity yet. So I love just the example that you've given where here you are in Florida. You and I know each other because of this company, and that we all pour into each other regardless of lines. And I mean, it's just amazing. So the collaboration is pretty amazing. If we can ever help you, we'd love to do the same. So.
Yep. Well, I'll be when I come to Austin. You can take me. Where's that place that Gene took me? Perry's.
Perry Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Down it
We
in.
can go there.
Yeah, we'll make sure. Go get the pork chop. We'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, that's what I had. My God, that's ridiculous. And I think G made me get that just so he could take most of my pork chop home.
Probably, but everything's bigger in Texas, so come see us.
I know, and I come there like everybody's 8 feet tall, and I have me 5'6" here walking around like a little. I call myself nut high. If I punch a guy straight, it'll be in the nuts. So, anyway, thanks, guys. You guys take care of yourself, and I'm always here if you need help.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mitch. Good seeing all you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.